Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Community Preservation Committee meeting of April 7th, 2015. Tonight in attendance, we have Dave Schauer from the from the Housing Authority. We have Paul Nelson from the Affordable Housing Trust. We have James Demento from the Park and Rec Commission, James Davenport from the Historical Commission, Peter Burns from the Open Space Committee, and Gary Fowler from the Select Board. I'm Harry Locatilia. I'm here from your Planning Board. Without any further ado, at 7:35 p.m., the meeting is hereby declared open. First order of business is I will accept a motion to open the public hearing, the public informational hearing for the CPA. Peter makes the motion. Pete moves to open. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And with that, for the record, who would like to do the honors? Vice Chairman Burns, would you be so kind to read the public notice? Should be there
Absolutely.
somewhere. Should be one of them.
Yep. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the public notice that was published in the Georgetown Record dated Friday, March 20th, 2015. The record states the Georgetown Community Preservation Committee will hold a public informational hearing on Tuesday, April 7th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. in the third floor meeting room at the Georgetown Memorial Town Hall, 1 Library Street, to provide the community with an opportunity to learn and comment about projects to be considered for funding by the voters of Georgetown at the May 2015 town meeting. If approved by the voters, these projects will be paid for with the funds available to Georgetown as identified in Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act. All the projects that have been suggested for consideration for funding are described on the Community Preservation website at http://www.georgetowncpc.com. The Community Preservation Committee welcomes any questions and comments regarding these projects. If you're unable to attend this meeting, please send your questions or comments to mailboss@georgetowncpc.com or contact the chairman of the CPC, Harry Locatilia, at 978-352-5527. The Community Preservation Committee would like to thank the residents of Georgetown for their continued support. Signed, Harry Locatilia, Chairman, Georgetown Community Preservation Committee.
Thank you, Peter. Without any further ado, the public hearing is now open, and we will now go to the project presentations of the recommended CPA projects for the annual town meeting. And give me a second, and I'll try to pull that up. We'll get that on the screen. And start that right off. And with any luck, it'll come up. And here we go. The Community Preservation Committee presents the Community Preservation Act core categories, as you've probably heard endless number of times. There are 3 core categories. They're community housing, historic preservation, and their open space. A couple of years ago, the Community Preservation Act was modified. Open space now means protection and preservation of not just conservation land and open lands in general, but active recreational land as well. It's all open space. There's a 10% reserve that's required to be made by the committee and town meeting. Every year, you have to appropriate or reserve 10% of the fund's annual monies for each of the 3 core categories. Those categories are, once the reservations are made, the voters have to decide whether to approve or to reject the projects that the local Community Preservation Committee has recommended for that upcoming year. Bond allocation and payment. At the annual town meeting held in 2013, the town approved bonding from CPA funds to pay for the high school field rehabilitation project and for the conservation restriction for the Wheeler Brook Farm. In order to make payments for the bond acquisition costs and the associated debt service, the town voters will also be asked to approve the necessary funding for that through an annual appropriation made at the same time that the 10% reservations are made. That'll all happen in one first warrant article. That'll be A. This year, the recommended appropriation from the committee is $200,424.85 to provide for the debt service related to those bonds of the articles that were done back in 2013. Have to pay the piper. This year, the CPC in public meetings over the year reviewed the suggested projects that were submitted, and out of them, the CPC has recommended the following. So we'll begin with the community housing category. The first is the Georgetown Housing Authority storm doors, and presenting that is Dave Schauer, the representative from the Housing Authority.
Well, we're looking for $3,600 to replace the remainder of the doors we don't have on the buildings. It's been almost 20 years we've been trying to do this up there. And the ones we are left will finish all the storm doors on the buildings. It's 12 units still remaining without storm doors, and without the storm doors, the people can't open up the doors during the summer. And they do have a lot of woodchucks around there. A few times we had a woodchuck come inside. And it does help with the heating too, and our heating bill up there is awful expensive. It's electric heat, and so this will help out an awful lot. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dave. I'm gonna turn it over to the audience. Does anybody have any questions or any comments they'd like to make about this project? There being none, we'll move on to the next project. And the next project is the Affordable Housing Trust Grant in 2015. Presenting is Paul Nelson from the Affordable Housing Trust. Just give me a nod when you want me to move.
Okay, well, the trust itself, there is a purpose, authority, and the programs. Essentially what we're here for, we created something called the Housing Production Plan back in 2011. And everything that we're doing essentially is within the domain of the Housing Production Plan. And that maintained the status of the current affordable units, capitalizing on opportunities to create new owner and rental housing, aid in buying or helping people rent affordable housing. We have to aid us, or we created to aid us, is something called the RAP program, Rental Assistance Program. We have an accessory apartment bylaw, which is in process. I shouldn't probably put it up there, but it's in process. And then we're actually looking this year to establish the monitoring agent capability, which at this point we either have to farm out or just kind of like do ad hoc, which is not too good. So, and that's what the Housing Production Plan looks like. If you go to the town website and go to the Affordable Housing Trust segment, you will find a link to the production plan. And it was created in 2011. We spent, I think, close to $25,000 on it. It's very complete. It has almost every detail. It's not even out of date now. It was done with enough foresight so that what we're working on now is still within the domain of the project plan made back then. And Housing Production Plan itself, essentially, what we want to do is look at what the idea was to find out what were the needs within the town. It's not so much how do we want the town to grow, but what are the needs within the town currently, and then with a little bit of projection in the future. At the point in 2011, and this hasn't been updated, there was an estimated 75 plus families that were living below the poverty level in Georgetown. Hard to believe when you look at Little Sill and things like that, but it's true. It's true. There's also a pressing demand for all kinds of rental housing units. We've tried through the rental assistance program to place people in Georgetown, and it's just really, really hard to do. Not because the people don't want to live here, there's just no place to live if you want to rent. There's also a demand for starter homes. If you look at what people are building now, there are McMansions and things of that nature, and they really don't fit the bill of people just getting married. So. And then also there's housing needed, which would be smaller two-bedroom houses that the elderly can buy and then essentially age in place as opposed to going to a nursing home and things of that nature. So all that is contained within the production plan. I guess I nodded, right?
Sorry.
That's all right. So in 2011, the summary table on the left shows what we've actually got. And essentially, there was some family, which were like accessory apartments. There's Trestle Way, which is like 126 units. There's Longview, which are 38 units, rental units. In ownership, there's only 5, and then there's 6 that are senior disabled, though they don't necessarily count towards our state count for some odd reasons. The housing needs in 2014, it used to be the list that we used, you can see on the bottom there, it says area waiting list is 300 plus, but it got so large, and it encompassed such a large area, it really wasn't realistic. I mean, there's no way we were gonna do 300 of anything. So essentially, Diane out at Trestle Way capped it to just the people that were in the local area looking at local rentals that they would like to have. And that came out to be 71. And that's for elderly and handicapped, 70, I think they should have been 72. Anyway, and about 71 for the family waiting list, and that's like, say, for Georgetown only. What else do I want to say about that? I guess, yeah, the problem is that yeah, there's 140 needs up there, and our ability to service them is close to nil, and it's kind of like frustrating. But we've had, see on the bottom there, no increase in affordable housing units since 2009. Now that doesn't mean we haven't been building housing. There was like 40 houses, 40 brand new houses made. Out of that 40, we got 0 affordable houses, which was a travesty, but it happened. So consequently, we're like not even treading water, we're actually going backwards. So that's what this is all about. And so our capabilities that are built into the trust. If you look at the Affordable Housing Trust Charter, it's very bank-like. We can do things like buy, sell, loan, mortgage. It has a lot of capabilities. It actually does get money. I mean, we get money from the CPC as block grants. It goes into this bank, if you will, and it's used for various purposes, primarily to create affordable housing in some way, shape, or form. Although we actually, the Housing Authority, they're running a small city over there, and they really don't have a lot of funds. And if something happens where they need money for, I think they had some ramps that need to be built. There were a number of different things that happened over there where they didn't have the money. The Affordable Housing Trust actually then gave them the money. And it wasn't a loan or anything like that. It was just, they're part of affordable housing, they get it. And let's see, the other thing we're trying to do is the Housing Authority, well, Housing Section needs, the upkeep of affordable units. What we've done in a couple of cases, the affordable units, they're supposed to be once a year monitoring. There should be a report turned in on every house. It doesn't happen right now because we don't have that function right now. But consequently, some of the houses have gone into a bit of disrepair. And what we've done is loan the people that were in the houses money to actually bring them up to snuff. And let's see, we're actually funding the rental assistance program. The rental assistance program is one thing that we're running right now that's very successful. Some people looked at it as like a handout. We view it more like a hand up. If you look at all the people, and there's about 8 households in this program, there isn't one of them that hasn't had either a medical issue, a loss of a job, or potentially some kind of a financial event like a divorce or something that causes a hiccup in their financial stream. And so the rental assistance program is essentially makes sure that they can, if they put in 30% of what they've got, we will finish that and make sure that they stay in the home that they're in. And we fund the agent for the trust. We have 20% of the planning board agent. And we're looking now to secure additional professional assistance. We did have that for the rental assistance program, but that contract elapsed, so we'll be looking again. We've established partnerships with a number of different housing providers and agencies. There's a nonprofit called Harbor Light that we almost had a deal with in town, but it turns out the property was, okay, did it? All right, 2015 directions. That's the last slide, Harry.
Oh, no, I thought there was something about the Harbor Light there.
Oh, no.
That must have been the other one.
Here's more Harbor Light here.
Okay.
So we're trying to evolve some strategic alliances with nonprofit developers and Harbor Light is one of them. We were looking at a property here that it turned out to be unrecoverable due to the pollution that happened a number of years ago. But if it would have worked, we had had about 30 additional units in town, but it didn't. We're looking at planning, continuing the rental assistance program. We're also pursuing land acquisition to leverage the affordable housing development. To do business with people like Harbor Light or any other nonprofit, you can't build onesie-twosies. They have to be at least 20. And the reason is that they put an on-site person there, and you can't justify that with just 1 or 2 units. And so if we could find a nice chunk of land, several acres that was all buildable, they would come in and what we have to provide is mostly the land and the will, if you will. And they will pretty much do the rest of it, but we haven't got the land yet. And we're looking at investigating a down payment assistance program. This would be something for first-time home buyers to get into some units we don't have anywhere right now, because again, first-time home buyers are normally looking at 1 or 2 bedroom apartments or houses, and we currently don't have a whole lot of those, not condos, not houses. And we'll be extending the Affordable Housing Trust infrastructure to be able to do some of the things we're not now, like verifying the property every year is monitored. We have a report on it. We know what the status is. We know if it needs any repairs, that kind of thing. Because like I say, that's not happening right now. And then finally, we'll use the Affordable Housing Trust funding flexibility in executing any kind of opportunities we have or in assisting other clients. That's kind of like the long and short of it.
I think that's the last slide,
I
right?
think that's the last slide, yeah.
Are there any questions or comments from the audience?
Could you, I have one question,
the board.
and it's more for the people. Can you go through what you, we had a meeting where you talked about, it has to be deed restrictions on affordable housing units.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, people are, and a lot of people in town, and myself included, had the false assumption, oh, that's an affordable housing unit. And it really wasn't, because there's no deed restriction on it. You know, I mean, people look at homes and they say, oh, that's that should be affordable housing unit. And they can't be considered an affordable housing unit on our state list unless there is a deed restriction.
Right,
correct?
there's something called a subsidized housing inventory, and that's, the whole idea of that is to keep track of the number of affordable units that every town has. If you fall below 10% on that list, you could get hit with a 40B development.
Right, so the
And-
idea is people, in order to keep our 40B away from us, we have to find property that we can actually have deed restrictions on.
That's right, yep, and
And then-
luckily we have Longview, and without Longview, we'd be,
But that was a 40B.
that was a 40B in itself, but it was all the units there, not
Right.
just the 38 affordable ones, all of them count towards the SHI. So-
Just to clarify, the zoning board of appeals could accept a 40B project at any time. If the town is below 10% or doesn't have a housing production plan, my understanding is that what happens is if the zoning board of appeal were to deny the 40B,
Oh,
if you're above 10% with a housing production plan, then there is no appeal to that denial. It
Right.
doesn't go to
Right,
the
right,
state board
right.
for appeal. If
Right.
you're below 10%, then it can be appealed. So it's not a question of whether we're vulnerable. I mean, sometimes there are things called friendly 40Bs where
right, oh,
Right.
yeah.
something that the trust might want to look
Yeah,
into too.
yeah, we are.
And I'm sure you are, you're way ahead of
okay.
us on that, of course. But it's just whether or not it is appealable or not, because the town is above or below that 10% mark, and I believe we're at
11.7 or something like that. But since we're at the creation rate that we have right now, like I think it's like 2020, we will now then be
Vulnerable.
vulnerable, yes.
By all means, Derek.
Okay, you mentioned Harbor Lights and that they'd wanna build a place of about 20 units, cause they'd want a person in place.
Right.
So what would be the funding for that person in place? Would it come out of the rent, or would it come from the trust, or?
It would be part of the function of that particular building,
So
so
it
it would
would-
come out of the rents.
It would be a self-supporting
Yes.
20 unit, okay, no funds?
We wouldn't be kicking any more money.
Nothing needed back from the town or anything in that way then?
No, the Harbor Light is really interesting. If you get them a good property, or it could even be a building that needs to be restored. There was one deal that they had. The only thing the town had to do was provide a bridge loan, and they did everything else. And they provided some number of units to that town. So they're really good if you have the right opportunity. And we almost did.
Yeah.
We came very close.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions, comments? Okay, well, we'll move along then. The next, now we move to another category, the historical category. And the first of the historical category projects is historic preservation of digitization of historic documents. Mr. James Davenport from the historical representative from the Historical Commission will begin this with the,
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
sure, anytime.
Next slide.
Okay.
So one of the projects that the Georgetown Historical Commission has been advocating since literally 2006 using previous appropriated town funds is the preservation and easy access of Georgetown information. Using the medium of, really restoring documents, records, and information. So this digitization project in 2015 is a town proposal to approve $22,000 for the ongoing digitization of our town records. This project has been managed by the Georgetown Library with support from the Historical Commission, and we've been using also outside vendors. One of them, particularly Northern Micrographics out of Wisconsin, for our filming and digitization of this project. The project to date, since 2006, we've actually scanned approximately 83,000 pages. I know it says 70,000. That 70,000 is actually outdated. I started working on this project, or this slideshow for the Historical Commission about a month ago, but actually to date it's actually literally approximately 83,000 pages. Some of these documents go back to the 1800s. Most of the 83,000 particularly starts with the Georgetown Advocate, which began in 1874. Like many projects, over the years, since 2006, we've underestimated the funds needed. Now this is actually a good thing. We scanned 83,000 pages. We actually did not know at the inception of the project in 2006 that we had 86,000 pages, or 83,000 to do at this point, or that we actually have about 100,000 more to scan. So that is the shortfall of the project. Now, some of the original funds had gone to equipment. We've since purchased a Canon Microfilm Scanner 300, which is at the library. And the digitization aspect of this is kept on a ResCarta website. So some of the equipment, some scanners, and printers have been purchased with the existing funds. But we're confident and we are comfortable with the 22,000 for the remaining 100,000 pages. The 22,000 will be primarily designated in the following: 16,000 for the filming and digitization of the Georgetown record from 2000 to 2015, and approximately 6,000 for the actual digitization of some remaining Georgetown Advocate that we have found. We have used filming for the Georgetown Advocate since 1874, but not scanned. That's your 22,000. So just for anyone at home that's not familiar, I don't want to get too technical, but the microfiche uses 35 millimeter filming process. Our digitization will be accessible for anyone at the Georgetown Library. We use an optical character recognition process that kind of creates a PDF type for each page, and that's it.
If,
I
if,
don't think there's anything
I don't
else.
think there is
Sorry.
either. Whoop, wait a minute, I messed up.
So that is our digitization proposal.
The digitization you're doing will have character recognition on the microfilm as well, do you know?
Microfilm, I do not know.
Okay.
Actually, I do not know. I mean, if that technology is possible, I would say yes.
Right,
I'm not 100% familiar with the exact filming.
That's fine.
I know that the digitization you can do that, but
My understanding, and I may be incorrect, but my understanding was that libraries, a library standard, has to be the microfiche.
right.
But to get any real value out of this, other than pure archival, to the point where you would have to go to the library physically
Right.
and feed it into a microfiche reader and go through all these things, the digitization part, where it's optical character recognition, allows you, me, anybody with a computer
I know,
or
yeah.
access to the internet to go on the town website, click on the link for there, that's on there, and pull up all of the town records as far as the, all of the old newspapers that have been digitized.
Right.
The town reports back to, I don't know, 1700 something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
one of the
town
good, one
reports,
of the
I
good
mean-
things about them being slow is the original scanning wasn't character recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So those people who scanned all those documents back in the early 2000s don't have the ability to put in, farm stand, and it goes through every document and picks out every document that has the word farm stand in it.
It's unbelievable, it's really
Actually, it's funny
sick. It's a
because
sick search
People don't
function.
realize
It
that
really
not
is.
only that we're scanning, I've spent some time scanning on the things like the Brockville massacre, the massacre of Marlborough, and you're getting documents in from Providence, Rhode Island, from an account from their library, from someone who was at that battle from Providence, Rhode Island, not from Georgetown. So that character recognition now is opening up all sorts of information that is not accessible, wasn't accessible 10 years ago.
Yep.
So it's gonna be great, you're gonna be able to put in anything, canon, you get every canon, whether it be Old Nancy or other. And in another 10 years, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's been stored in other libraries that we're gonna have access to.
Can't wait for all these databases to merge.
Just so to give a little feedback, the Advocate, the Georgetown News, the Georgetown Enterprise, the Weekly, and the Record have been digitized, so just among many other documents, that's kind of that's fulfilling the bulk of these digitized pages.
And it's crazy because you can just go in now and you could type, Jimmy could type Demento and pull up stuff about his father, about his grandfather, anything, and you could pull up anything you want.
I'd probably say
It's
Meta,
really-
I'd probably say Meta.
It's really
Meta
pretty cool.
would be pretty limited, because we've only been here since 1962, but something like the Metas can go back centuries.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the, the Tennies or the Fowlers.
Yep, yep. Anyway, I guess you can tell I like this project, huh? Moving on to the next historic preservation project, it's the Town Hall hedge fence. Just to give you a little bit of introduction, this was brought to us by Scott Paganelli. Scott's stepping up to the podium there, and Scott, please introduce yourself and let me know, throw something at me or give me a head nod or something, and I'll
Hello,
move the
Harry.
slides forward for you.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you for suggesting this, sir.
Sure. So, my name is Scott Paganelli. I'm a resident here in Georgetown, 2 Pond Street, and I'm here to speak about a proposal that I have to replace the rusted town link fence, 330-foot town link fence. It's an alternative that I don't know that we've talked about before, as opposed to other ideas of replacing it with a much more expensive metal architectural fence. I think we're all in agreement that the fence that was there now, put in back in the 1940s, it's seen its day, it's rusted, it really detracts from this beautiful property that we're in tonight, and hopefully we can make that happen. So,
And James is making sure that the screen is showing what it needs to show for the home viewers. And that way they get the benefit of seeing all the information. That's, on the slideshow. Sorry, we have a little technical difficulty. Ah, there it is. The techs have figured it all out,
Okay,
and you see now what the viewers at home see.
okay, very good.
And I'm gonna give people just a second to see that and read through it and move the slide.
So again, going back to the importance of our town hall, a very important building on the National Historic Register, and one of four here in town on the Cultural Resource Information System database. So discussions were had going back in the middle of last year with the Georgetown Historical Commission. I raised the idea of taking a saw and just cutting that fence down and rolling it up and carting it away. However, concerns were raised, safety concerns were raised about eliminating a barrier, which were reasonable. So we kicked that around, discussed it at length, and it was discussed that instead of removing it altogether, we do replace it with something. So that's where our idea for the hedge came into play. And it's important to note that from a historical perspective, we have a number of period photographs going back over 100 years, which show that there is not a history of other fencing here on the property, historical metal fencing, chain link fencing, what have you. So by replacing it, there are a couple other photographs as well, Harry, which further document there is no history of a cast metal fence of any kind. One more as well. Okay. Next. So again, there were some, I know that there have been other initiatives in town to replace the chain link fence with a much more expensive cast metal fence. And while I think it would look beautiful, again, there are two things. There has not been a favorable climate to fund such a project, which has prevented the project from moving forward. And again, going back to the historical nature and context, there's not a history of that as well. And we have to be very mindful of that due to the historical significance and the restrictions by the National Register. So discussed the project with the Historical Commission. Very pleased to have gotten their unanimous approval to move forward with the idea to the CPC. Presentation was made to this body in the winter of 2014, and again, very, very proud to see that it was again approved unanimously as well. So discussions were had with the Georgetown Highway Department, Peter Durkee, where he provided his input, raised his concerns, safety issues and things of that nature. And it was discussed that we would utilize the Georgetown Highway Department labor as a much less costly alternative to contracting out and having that done by a third party. So again, using the Georgetown Highway Department, they would physically remove the 330-foot fence, fence posts and concrete supports. It was discussed digging a single trench and spacing those the shrubs in 24 inches on center, 2 feet on center. So although there isn't a historical record of a cast metal fence being on property, there is a precedent of an existing beautiful natural hedge being here on property. We see that on the Library Street fence. So it's my recommendation and the recommendation of the committees that I spoke with to continue with that same species of hedge, which is a Hixie taxus. We talked about taking full advantage of the generous town discount that Noonan Florist provides to the town for other product that we buy from them in order to keep our expenses down as low as possible. So with Georgetown doing the labor and the materials, the total cost of the project was estimated at $9,500, which is less than 20% of the cost of a cast metal fence. So there are some other considerations to think about, sort of long-term considerations. Of course, trimming. We have trimming work going on right now on an annual basis for the existing hedge, so that would still need to be managed. The hedge itself is estimated to reach maturity in about 2 to 3 years and fill in very beautifully and create a very handsome barrier. And also in planning out the planting of the hedge, consideration should absolutely be placed to the beautiful maple trees that we have here on property. We don't want to damage those. And also the beautiful work done by the country gardeners who have generously volunteered their time and talents to plant flowers along that wall. We certainly want to take that into consideration in order to continue to take advantage of that. That's it.
Sure they're gonna be able to have a lovely backdrop once
I
that
think-
grows in.
I think so.
They should be able to do wonders with that. Any comments from the board or questions from the audience or? Scott, I'd just like to thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Very good.
And
Thank
I
you, Scott.
encourage the folks of Georgetown to vote on this project. Thank you.
Oh, we hope they do too. We recommend it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're moving to the open space category.
No one's gonna hedge your bet?
Oh, bad one, Jimmy. Moving to the open space category projects. And the first is the Georgetown Park and Recreation 2015 rehabilitation of American Legion Park. And presenting for us tonight is Suzanne Caulfield and Juliet Reck. And Jimmy Demento will chime in a little bit into that because this is a multifaceted project that takes care of American Legion Park, our main bastion of park in Georgetown. Welcome. Give me a nod, throw something at me, let me know.
Okay.
Just yell at me if I don't move the slides forward.
Okay, well, there's 3 different parts to Phase 3 that we're asking for to keep working on American Legion Park. Just a little backdrop, back in 2013 at town meeting, we had started Phase 1, which gave us a pavilion, which is already built down there. A beautiful 26-foot pavilion with a concrete pad that can house 6 picnic tables. Already being used a lot, looks beautiful, it's great. And then that got us started on the playground design. It ended up that we had to do a lot of wetland science and mapping of the park. There was some permitting to be done, which always adds up once you get a project started that's not always anticipated with some first-timers going into a big project like this. So we were awarded $135,000. 2014 at town meeting was Phase 2 for $29,500. And that was to keep designing the playground, picking out the equipment and stuff and getting it all set. And this is Phase 3. So Part 1 of Phase 3 for 2015 meeting is total cost of $6,148 to extend our dock. And what's happening with the dock right now is everyone loves it, everyone uses it. It gets a lot of fishing and a lot of swimming because our pond is very nice and safe and clean for everyone to swim at. But we're getting fishing lures and tackle and stuff on the side that all the kids are swimming, even though we keep telling them to fish on the other side. So with this $6,150, we're going to add about 20 feet to the dock, 10 feet extra one way, 10 feet to the other where it tees at the end. So we're going to have fishing all to one side, swimming to the other. So this is going to nicely, very safely separate the two. Sue, please jump in too if I miss anything. We're also going to get some nice benches that are going to, 2 benches are going to be on, I believe, just the fishing side. So people can sit down and fish, and that will help really designate too where the fishing side is versus where the swimming side is, because kids jump off the dock and swim off to the left. And then that's just an explanation of all the equipment that's needed through AB Lifts and Docks, who we've been ordering the dock through before. Anyone have any questions about extending the dock? Next slide.
Move.
Yeah. And then part 2 of this, of Phase 3 here, is to just add one more piece of playground equipment, which was a pretty big, nice piece. Once Sue and I and all of Park and Rec really started designing this playground, in the upper playground, which is for age 5 to 12, we just realized there's a lot of teenagers and stuff that use our park in Georgetown. So we really wanted to keep in mind to get some heavy duty, nice equipment that some tweens and teens, even adults, can get on with the kids too, that it can hold up to. And so you see a large number up there, $20,955. The equipment purchased through Childscapes is called an Apollo with floor. There's a picture of it to follow
Next
in a
slide.
minute.
Yeah.
And we can turn back. Do one more. Oh,
Yep, there
sorry.
you go.
There it is. The play factor for that is 35 kids. That thing spins, and kids can climb all. There's a bunch of kids on it. Kids can climb all on those ropes and stuff. They can sit on the floor of it while it's spinning, kind of like a modern day merry-go-round, I guess. And you can climb all over it. It's pretty awesome. So you can flip back. Oh, there's another
Flip back?
picture of it. So right there, see on the left-hand side where Sue had put those arrows in? That's kind of where it's going to be. That's the upper playground that's age 5 to 12. So that's the big piece that we're talking about. It's a huge heavy-duty piece. It's going to require quite a bit of concrete to install it as well. And the labor is going to be offered for free from Childscapes if town agrees and votes to appropriate that money to get that piece. So we're going to go ahead and leave the footprint for it right there when we get the park built. Okay, if you could go back one more too, please. It's just a breakdown. And then the freight is an estimated freight charge right now, since freight is always changing. So that number is possibly subject to change a little bit. And then we just felt we needed some extra money for security cameras. We already have security cameras down at the park. But once this playground goes in this spring, we just needed some more eyes up there at the playground to make sure our equipment is kept safe and to make sure the kids are safe as well. So we put an extra $500 towards the bottom for security cameras. Total estimate was $24,355. We rounded it up to $25,000, just so we have a little cushion for freight and for concrete, just in case we're low on the concrete, which always is changing too. So Sue, anything else you would like to add?
No, that was good.
And then there's one more part. So that was the dock and an extra piece of equipment at the playground and the cameras. And then Jim was gonna.
So we have two other things we want to discuss. While we're going on this project, we noticed there was two other repair upgrades we have to pursue. We have a bandstand I built by the Kiwanis a number of years ago, and hasn't been touched since they built it pretty much. And right now it needs a new roof and it needs some work done onto it. So we actually we got a quote for a new roof and some repair of the inside of the bandstand. If you show the next picture.
Sorry.
This is the bandstand, and we're asking to put a new roof, and then we have to do some repairs to the back and the roof of it. It hasn't been touched in 20-something years, and gets used many weekends during the summer. And we don't want it to rot. We'd rather have it, sealed up and protected, so it gets another 20 years at least out of it. It has lights, it has electricity. It's been used quite a bit. It's not an eyesore, but it could be another couple of years. So let's get it done. I don't think it's that much, considering it was all donated by the Kiwanis, and they spent a lot of time and money. A structure that size, built by today's standards, would cost us a lot more than when it was done by the Kiwanis. That's for sure. And then we have one other repair. If anybody's seen the building, the main building, T111, is rotting off the building. We have an approximate $4,000 to rip off all the T111 and put new T111 on. As you can see, this is the building that everybody sees down there, and it's been like this for a number of years. You'll see from subsequent pictures, it's rotting, and the T111 is just rotting off the building. So, Harry, you want to go up one more?
Sorry?
You can see, so the rot's going through, so we'd like to rip off all the T111 and put on new siding. I prefer something different than T111, but based on the cost, it's probably what goes on. And it just, like I said, it's time. It's been there another 30 or 40 years, I think. I hope the T111 is good now as it was then, because that's been up there a long time. And it's, it must be much thicker than hopefully it's as thick as they have now. There's a couple of shots showing just the different spots where it's just, breaking down. That's just, when you're getting a new park, new docks, we just want to clean up the area a little bit. Keep going on with make it, it's used a ton, the beaches are being used all the time now, the water counts of, the bacteria counts have stayed low ever since we replaced all the sand, the bacteria counts have been super low. Under 100 all season, so, which, each year we get more and more people there, so. It's great when it's great when we're spending the money on something that's getting utilized as much as the American Legion Park.
Jimmy, can I just ask you something? Isn't that the HP bathroom facility?
Yes. These two bathrooms here were converted with CPC money to HP. And actually, a lot of people, it's made a big improvement. A lot of people have mentioned that, so people who are handicapped go down fishing, and it's good to be able to use the bathrooms, and I think it matters to them where they fish, because, you want to be able to have a bathroom that's handicap accessible, makes a big difference.
Are there any questions from the audience or from the other board members? Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Juliet.
You're welcome.
And we'll move on to the next open space category project, which, right back to you again, Jimmy. This is the East Main Street recreational facility. I know a lot of people think that this was just a ghost. It never really would happen, but
Yeah,
seems
so,
as though you might be able to
right.
change
So-
their mind about that.
Just so everybody knows, so we've gone through, we purchased, 2008, a number of parcels of land for a new park on East Main Street. In 2014, we got the approval to build the park, and we actually sent the park, the original cost, the quote of phase one out to bid in February, and all the bids came in high, but not by much. So what we did is we took some scope out of the phase one project scope, and are having the project rebid, and the bidding process will close on April 15th. So hopefully after April 15th, we will have a contractor, and they will be able to start building phase one of East Main Street project. During that bidding process, we also got a feel for the skate park, which will be in phase two of the, part of the next phase is to put in the skate park. The phase one, Harry, you wanna go to some of the,
Sure, excuse me.
oh, I'm sorry. So this is the original, this is the multi-page design of the skate park, and you wanna go forward one more?
Sure.
One more?
Oh, one more.
So actually, if I can, was there a pointer?
Oh, you might be able to use this.
All right.
I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, I can explain, you go. So, part of phase one is the road's gonna go all the way back from East Main Street. It's gonna be all the way back to the ball fields that's it's gonna come on down here, and that ball field is gonna be cut in and seeded. So all available land we're gonna be using for ball fields and open space fields are gonna be, all the trees gonna be cut, they're gonna be stumped, the land's gonna be leveled, the land's gonna be seeded. Kids can use it for soccer very soon. There won't be a fence up there for baseball, because we didn't have the money in phase one to do that. A third of the parking lot will be done, so there'll be some parking, so people want to use for the skating, for the soccer, excuse me. Now, what we're proposing in phase two is to put in the slab in the skate park, which is shown in the cursor. There's also a rain garden, if you wanna go back one page, probably now we can see. There's also a rain garden that has to go around, be designed and built around that skate park. And another third of the, there's also a wetlands delineation in the middle of in the middle of the parking lot, there's a small wetland, so that's gotta be removed and replicated. You can do that on all wetlands under 5,000 square feet, which has been approved by the Conservation and the Planning Board. And then, so that will be replicated, and then the parking lot will be expanded from 1/3 to 2/3 the size. So that will complete phase one and phase two. So will there be an additional phase? There will be additional phases over time to bring that park to its full design specs, to put the fence at the ball field, and to put hopefully a dog park too. We have designed in there for a dog park. That's going to be determined based on the feeling of the CPC as money comes in each year, whether they think those are viable projects to continue, and the town votes for them. So we're trying to do as much as we can with the money we have, and like I said, we've got it designed, we've got it permitted, so we're working to try to get it completed.
Thank you, Jimmy. Are there anything else? Any questions from the board?
Yeah, sure,
The ballpark,
yes.
Little League.
The ballpark's,
Babe Ruth.
ballpark's considered a pony field. A pony field's 250 feet, so it's bigger than a Little League field. A Little League field's, I think, 210 maybe. It's for mush ball. A mush ball is played on a pony field. It's also, it's kind of the standard, I don't know, Mark can chime in, it's also becoming more of a standard for field use as well. They have what's called a Maverick, different size fields now. It's not the Little League size scale anymore.
Yeah, I mean, just the American Legion's 180 feet. It's small.
Yeah, it's too small. The kids are getting bigger. They're taking too many steroids now with all the milk and everything. But yeah, a lot of home runs being hit, and it's a little bit bigger for the. Sure.
Jim, I didn't know if I should call you Jim or James. Jim, in this project, is anything happening to the soccer field? This is the East Main Street field,
Right.
correct? Is anything in this?
No, the soccer
restoration?
field isn't under the isn't owned by the Park and Rec. The soccer
Okay.
field's part of the church.
Okay, so nothing's happening
No,
to that
the-
soccer field
that's,
at this point?
Just so people know, go down to this small soccer field behind the church. That land's always been given to, not given, but the church has let the town use that land. That isn't town property.
That's
They've been
it.
nice enough to let us, for the last 20 years, use it. That
That's
that
right
field
here.
will be under the direction, we hope that they will continue to let us use it.
Okay,
And it'll be in the same area.
okay, thank you.
Question here.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Would you, just for anybody perhaps listening, explain rain gardens and the purpose?
Sure. Well, we have a 11,000 square foot slab that's pretty close to our wetlands. So because that's impervious soil, and when it rains, the water will not go into the soil. It will have to flow to somewhere. So what the rain garden does is the water will run off that surface into a rain garden, which will collect that water and distribute it in the proper manner.
So it distributes it back into the soil, that's the purpose?
Distributes it back into
I
the
take it.
soil,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Allows it to infiltrate. Paul, did you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're set. Yeah, I got you.
What is the, when can somebody actually start doing something out there?
Well, it's all based on the grass. I'll give you my best guess. You know, if the project's approved in April and the project's done in the summer, which we hope, and then they seed the grass, and probably, you know, I would say the best is late fall and early spring of next year.
What
For
about the
grass.
What about the parking lot?
The parking lot, you could be used probably in the summer if it's done. It will be, you know, you want to drive out there and walk through the property.
Yeah.
In the winter, you know, well, we can. We don't. Yeah, it won't be open in the winter according to the planning board, so we have that restriction. But if you saw one, but it will be available for use as soon as this phase one is done.
Why won't it be open in wintertime?
There is some. Go ahead.
It won't be open in the winter.
Yeah, why?
It's a park.
I think the original conditions on the park being in there, that the gate will be closed in the winter.
I thought it was supposed to be, you know, hiking and everything else.
There's actually a couple of nice ponds out there for
Yeah.
ice skating too.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But I
As we.
The restriction, I believe, that Jim's referring to is one that would allow plows to travel down this road and plow this road, since there was no snow storage envisioned, and there's no, the concern was that the town would have to plow all the way down this long driveway with no snow storage area designated. And so the idea was that if the gate was closed, and the gate would be pretty much back where the gate, where the wire is now, if you're familiar with it, at the end of the parking lot, of the church parking lot there. So, if anyone, the park wouldn't be formally opened in the wintertime, but if people wanted to, walk on the land and park in the church area or just walk to the area, this is land that's owned by the inhabitants of the town of Georgetown. I don't think anybody on the planning board could have you arrested.
We don't plow the American Legion Park, we plow through, around the park, and people use it. There is places to capture the snow at the American Legion.
But there is here too, you could use the ball field, you could plow it out into the ball field. Nobody's gonna play ball in the wintertime.
After my 13th meeting with the town government to get this permitted, I
planning board?
wasn't going to approach that situation with them.
That's too bad.
So that's the nuts and bolts of that argument.
We have
I
here-
assume that as the years go on, people will use this park and there may be pressure to change that. I hope so, but if there is, but as of now, no, there is no allowed plowing of that area because there is no allowed snow area.
Whose rule is that, planning board or?
No, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was the conservation or the planning, but I could get back to you on that, but it was one of those boards.
Yeah, it would be interesting, because we haven't had a skating rink in this town since they quit using Harry Murch Park.
Yes, I agree. I think it would be an awesome place to
Yeah.
to skate.
Well, I can't speak for the planning board, but I'd certainly entertain
Well-
a modification of that condition.
Yeah, but my
Let-
thoughts on it,
let's-
let's get the park built.
Let's build it first, though.
Okay,
Maybe we should build it first.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
again.
by all means,
Okay,
Gary,
and
please.
Just for public knowledge also, the permitting is all done now and you are
The
going
permitting
into
is
the
all
bid
done.
process.
Hallelujah.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Are there any other questions from the audience or from the board? Well, moving forward, back to the open space category project. And the next project is the open space active recreational land purchase. This year, the Open Space Committee, the CPC is proposing to purchase two active recreational greenway parcels. These are referred to as Assessors Map 16 Lot 6 and Assessors Map 16 Lot 7. What you see before you is the town of Georgetown. It may be familiar to you. The locus we're talking about is in the little rectangle area there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, just to give you a little bit of history. The slide says OSRP, in case you're not familiar with that acronym. The town has had in the past and is also working on what was referred to as an open space and recreation plan. These are plans that are approved by the Conservation Commission, by the Park and Rec, by the town, the select board, that go to EOEEA, the state board. In years past, if you did not have an open space plan on file, approved and accepted by the Secretary of Environmental Affairs in the state, you could not get any grant money. We had one that was adopted back in 2005. It ran until 2011, at which time it expired. The town has been diligently working on upgrading and doing the next version of that through the Open Space Committee, the Conservation Commission. CPC recommended and the town meeting voters approved $7,500 to be used for a professional planner to assist in that process. It is now currently before in draft form, currently before the Conservation Commission. Needless to say, back in 2005, that open space and recreation plan identified what was referred to at the time as the Georgetown Greenway. This was the Greenway plan. You can see on the screen, there is I don't know what you want to call it, a polygon of some sort, and it's all hatched with little dots in it. It identifies some of the areas of the town that would be nice to have if we could connect them all. This, in yellow, is the Greenway Dream. What you see down here where the little dot is the East Main Street facility. Over here, up here, is the conservation land that came from the Emma Harris Way development. This is the conservation land over here that came from the Pillsbury Pond development. What you have is a patchwork quilt of parcels that are both conservation and active recreational parcels. They form what will someday be considered the Greenway. Back shortly after the open space and recreation plan was approved by the state back in 2005, the CPC, the Open Space Committee, Park and Rec, Conservation, all worked to identify the owners of the parcels, find out exactly who owned them, how big they were, what the likelihood was that they would be for sale by the owners. Here's where we are. If you cast your eyes into the little oval, that is the East Main Street recreational facility. The brown land is land that is under the jurisdiction of the Park and Rec. The green lands are under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Again, this greenway, as it goes through Georgetown, will be Park and Rec, active recreation, right next to conservation land, passive recreation. A little something for everybody. That's the East Main Street recreational facility. Cast your eyes up here to the other one. That is what's referred to as the Martell Way parcels. Those were purchased. Those were actually one of the very, very first Greenway parcels that we ever made. This parcel here is known as the exciting and sexy name of Map 16 Lot 4. It's existing Park and Rec land. Not too many people know about it. It doesn't come into play until all the pieces of the puzzle fall together. What you have here is an idea of what existing today, right now, is on the field, is in the real world. Again, the brown represented parcels are the Park and Rec control parcels. The green parcels that you see in this portion up here are conservation land. These are the existing open space lands. You are now looking at a little cut of the latest of the open space plan maps. This is the open space map for the town of Georgetown. This is how it looks today. Whether you do or don't, or whether you are or are not aware of it, there is something called Parcel F. And my understanding is the town will be, the town meeting voters will be asked to approve the gift of Parcel F as part of the planning board permitting process for this parcel of land, which some folks may know of as the Pingree parcel. What was proposed by a company called Artisan Development was the Turning Leaf subdivision. Through negotiations with the planning board, the parcel that you see in red here will come to the town inhabitants. Planning board sort of thought it was going to come to the Park and Rec. Conservation Commission was under the impression that they were going to have it as conservation land. What the eventual outcome of that will probably be determined by town meeting. But nonetheless, either way, it will be town-owned land. It'll be owned by the inhabitants of the town of Georgetown. Putting Parcel F up, you can start to see that some of the pieces of this puzzle are all falling together. I'd like you to just take a quick look at this blue line that runs here. That is a power line easement. That is not part of what we know of right now today as the rec path. That power line easement is something that was envisioned to be a spur off of the recreational path. And that's on a 2020 Merrimack Valley long-range plan. But the land that the 16-4 parcel has, the land that the Parcel F has, and Parcel 16-6, which is the proposed parcel to purchase, one of the proposed parcels to purchase, and 16-7, also now shown in blue. All of those parcels own the fee of that utility easement. The easement is on top of the land. So we had a little bit of some issues sometimes with the recreational path, securing easements because the land that we wanted to use wasn't owned by the town. We point out that now we would be owning the underlying fee of the land, if that means anything to anybody. But this is what we're hoping we will see on May, after May town meeting, May 4th town meeting. Park and Rec land, right next to conservation land. I'm hoping this becomes Park and Rec land to add to these brown parcels, very, very closely adjacent to the Martell Way entrance. This is a shot of the wetland areas and some of the resource areas. Again, when this was all envisioned, everyone realized there'd be some wetland crossings. These would not be easy, nor will they be inexpensive to do. But this is very necessary if you look at the build out of the town, and you're gonna have more kids, you're gonna have more, hopefully not fat adults playing in the fields, and you're gonna need these lands for Park and Rec,
Can I make-
whether you recognize it or not. You're going to need them. Yes, Jim?
Just wanna make one other point. You know, when we started this
You want
project.
this slide?
No, that's fine, we can leave in this slide. We started this project, a lot of people said, well, why are we purchasing this land? No one will ever get into these parcels. If you look at the biggest parcel that's encompassed in red, that's been taken. Since we started in 2008 envisioning this, and everybody said none of this land was ever gonna be encroached upon. The biggest parcel is now under development. We have the chance to, you know, we've basically stopped any further development of what we're purchased. And I think it's a good opportunity to finish that. There's 9 parcels that we have negotiated either accepting or accepting a portion of to get to the Greenway. And there's only 3 more left. If these 2 parcels come in line, there's only 3 more left to establish a continuous Greenway. So we're, you know, if you take 9 out of 3, we're 3/4 of the way there after this purchase. So we have to solidify that one parcel and then one of the 2 Herrick parcels, and we have an established Greenway. You can walk from East Main Street all the way to Martell, and pretty close all the way to Bob Morehouse's farm. So that'll be the next. There's one little parcel, tiny parcel, to get you all the way to there if you wanted to do that. So it's a good project and it's moving forward.
Are there any questions? It's a complicated, very, very involved scheme. It's the Greenway.
Can you point out where the rec path is on that map?
On this map, no. I can go
Okay.
back here.
Or a map?
Yeah.
Sure. I can
Yeah, that's a
absolutely
good point.
go back here.
Just for the viewers.
And
Yeah.
I can tell you that rec path travels from right there. If you can follow the my little arrow, the rec path travels down here, intersects what we were talking about, this
Right
this spur, and then we'll come down here through the square and work its way down here.
It goes across
Okay.
north just after Mill Street if you're heading towards Byfield.
Yep. Basically, it goes just like this.
Okay.
Makes a big, sort of like an arc almost through the town into Boxford.
If I can, just for clarity, the selectmen voted last night to put it on the warrant as conservation land. It was not unanimous.
Interesting.
Interesting.
And we were told that we had to make that distinction for it to be on the warrant, because it had to.
It had. I'm sorry.
We were told that it had to be distinguished on the warrant. That's why part of why we opened the warrant last night and made that distinction.
And it couldn't have been distinguished as municipal land.
I guess it had to be decided whether it was conservation or park and rec.
Hmm.
The selectmen went with conservation.
Well, we'll see what the GA thinks about that.
Well, it was a very confusing vote.
Well, it doesn't really impact the CPC.
'Cause-
So let's move on with the,
Yeah, and it's
open
and
space
it's not,
category
and it's,
project.
at least you're getting it, as you said, one way or the other, you have it for the connecting the pieces, so.
Yes, it will be owned by the inhabitants of the town of Georgetown. And how it's used will be another story. But moving on to the other open space category project, we have the West Street Fields, the restoration and rehabilitation proposal. And to present that to us tonight is Peter Burns. Peter?
Yes.
Take it away, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Burns with the Georgetown Youth Soccer Association, and here tonight to talk to you about the West Street Athletic Fields parking lot rehabilitation proposal that we have before the CPC, be going before the town at town meeting. And just a little bit of background. The reason we want to have the rehabilitation on this is because the parking lot is unsafe right now. It doesn't have the capacity to handle the cars that are in there now for the people that rely on this field. Right now it's unsafe and the parking lot is in poor and deteriorating condition. The town youth soccer program has relied on these fields now for decades, really since the 80s, and we haven't done really any investment in this property at all since then. Right now we've got a lot of reliance on these fields too, because we've got the Pembroke School under construction. So not only soccer, but also lacrosse players are relying on these fields now too. We've got about 400 kids in town that are playing either lacrosse or soccer and relying on the use of these fields. We just built the new turf field at the high school, and that's helping, but the majority of the kids are still relying on these fields for their practices and games between ages 10 and 16. So it's important for us to be able to rehabilitate this parking lot so that we can accommodate that. And I had spoken to Fire Chief Al Beardsley, asking his support for the project, and he informed me that this is a helicopter medical evacuation area to this site. So it's a multi-use site, and as folks know, it's also on the town, it's owned by the town water department. So we're also relying on it for water, for the soccer, and for helicopter medical evacuation purposes. Excuse me. So, like I said, we haven't really invested anything in this. We've been using these fields since the early 1980s and really haven't done anything to improve the parking lot, which is basically now just a dirt lot. The entrance and the exit are very constrained. Only one vehicle can really get in at a time, in and out, and that causes a lot of congestion on a busy Saturday afternoon in the spring or in the fall when we've got soccer games back to back. People are coming in from other towns and coming in with their kids. They're forced to park on the country road on West Street with no adequate shoulder or anything like that. So there's concerns with safety as people exit and enter their vehicles and try to enter the field. And so this constrained situation causes problems for any kind of emergency vehicles being able to get in there should we need that. There's one handicap parking spot, but it's a little rough. And again, so it's not getting any better there. It's only getting worse. So we started this project last year. We came before the town, and the residents were gracious enough to vote in $10,000 in CPA funds to be used to just get the project off the ground. So we've hired an engineer. We started the permitting process. We just tried to get our feet wet with this just to see what we're up against. And so far so good. We have an engineer and we're working through that process. And so now we've gone through and we've got some estimates and we've kind of seen things through a little bit more, and we're into phase 2 now. And so now we're before the town residents asking for $45,000 in CPA funds to do the actual rehabilitation project to resurface the existing parking lot. So that would include the site work, removal of some trees. We'll be expanding the lot a little bit. We'll be opening the entrance and exit out to 30 feet. We'll have to purchase the gravel and sand that will be used to surface the new lot and apply it. We'll have some new signage, and also permitting and engineering will be covered in these costs as well. And here's a breakdown of the costs. You can see that the tree removal, these were some estimates we had on breakdown of the project. So tree removal, $11,000. Grading of the area is $15,000. To purchase and apply the surface material is $12,000. For signage updates and parking barriers, $1,000, and then an additional $6,000 for just the permitting and the engineering to get the project through, and that totals the $45,000 estimate that we have. So right now, with our engineer and our consultant, we've gone through, and the first group that we had to confront is the Water Department and the Board of Water Commissioners, because they own the property there. Our well fields are located in the Parker River, back behind where the soccer fields are. So they had no problem with what we intended to do here. They saw no issues with water quality or anything that were going to come from this, because we're going to really keep it up far away from the farthest part of the site, away from the well fields and the river. And so they didn't have any issue from a water quality standpoint with us doing this project. They did point out that within 3 to 5 years, maybe longer, that there's a possibility that they might expand the water treatment facility, and that expansion could overlap part of the parking lot that we're using now, or possibly in the future. And so if that could happen, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But in the short term, we're using the facility now. It's worth the investment to go through and improve it now, so that we can get the benefits out of it. And even if in the future, if there is some overlap and we lose a bit of that parking lot, we'll still have that improved site. There'll be an investment in that place. The other group that we had to get a permit from is with the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Wildlife, their Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. And the reason we had to come before them is because any project that occurs in an area where there's a endangered or threatened species or their habitat, you have to get a review of the project. So we went through and gave them our project plan, and they reviewed it, and they said that it's in Blanding's Turtle critical habitat area. So, but if we did any kind of work during the summertime, it's the only time we would have to do any conditions on the kind of work. So if we did it in October or later, we wouldn't have to do anything, because there wouldn't be any impacts to the turtles or the turtles' habitat. But we would like to have this project done in time for the fall soccer season, so that we can see the benefits right away. So since we're going to be hopefully doing it this summer, we have to provide a turtle protection plan to the Heritage and Endangered Species Program for them to review. And so that would include a turtle barrier and the presence of a turtle monitor there to make sure the turtles don't get harmed anyway by the rehabilitation project. So that is currently under review, but it's looking pretty good, and we think that we're going to be all set with that. So overall, no impacts to the water quality. With our turtle protection plan, there'll be no impacts to the turtles, and we'll get the benefit of the improvements to the site to help us get up to speed and be able to accommodate the people that rely on the site. Overall, the benefits are that it'll increase the capacity of the lot from 60 to 100 vehicles. That'll get those cars off the road. That'll keep that any kind of runoff from the cars from going down the hill and into the river. It'll keep kids and parents and grandparents off the road during busy times, and allow them to safely park in the parking lot. It's going to double the size of the entrance and exit. We're not going to have two entry and exit points. It's just going to be one point that will be expanded to allow safety vehicles to enter and exit that. It's going to be 30 feet, and according to Chief Beardsley, that would be adequate to get the types of emergency vehicles in and out of that spot if it was ever needed as a helicopter evacuation area, and it would certainly allow anyone to get in there if it was needed for a sports event. It will, so it adequately accommodates the public safety vehicles, and we've pulled this we've pulled the rehabilitation area as far away from the water resource area as we can, and tried to locate it up in that West Street corner of the site, just to avoid any additional impacts that could potentially happen. We're not doing any work in the athletic fields, and we're not bringing any synthetic material onto the site. It's only going to be, gravel and dirt surface. And then we're going to replace and update the signage that's out of date. And so the value of the project, it's just an investment in a site that we're already using, that's already owned by the town. It's a reduced scope, as I said. It's just a parking lot, and we're just doing everything we can to reduce the footprint of our rehabilitation project here. It's cost effective. It'll improve the safety and access. It's a minimal cost thing. It's just paving with gravel and dirt. It makes an investment in a currently owned site that we're using for this purpose already and relying on. And hopefully, if everything goes through smoothly, we'll have it ready in time for the fall. And so here are some images here that hopefully give folks a better idea of exactly what we're trying to do. This is an overhead site. This is an overhead view of the site. You can see where the white cars are. That's the current parking lot right there. And if you look down to the where the entrance is, you can see that it's kind of obscured by trees. That's your small little entrance, and it's very dark and shady. It gets muddy. It doesn't dry out. It's icy in the right now. So if we could move some of those trees out of there, that'll dry it out. We're going to open up that access point to allow better access in there. And if you look at the trees up to the left side of the parking lot, that's where the little bit of the expansion is going to take place, along that little edge. We'll take some of those trees down and open that up down to West Street. And over on the other side of the entrance of the parking lot is also where we're going to shift some of the parking into that area as well, far away from what the well fields are, which are way in the top left portion of the screen, well away from where we're proposing to do the rehabilitation work. Next slide, please. And here's our proposed plan from our engineer, Williams and Sparage's engineers. And you can see the graphic shows where the current site is, or that dotted line sort of in the middle. And then onto the left is where the trees are down on the bottom there, right? That's where we'll be removing the trees and adding some additional parking, as well as over to the bottom right corner of the site is where we'll be also removing some trees in that area and expanding and widening the entrance. Okay, next slide, please. This is the signage going in. You're looking from West Street. Looking to the right is how you get into the field, and you can see a little bit some of the small deciduous trees and some white pines that are sort of in there. That's the area that where we would we're proposing to remove some of the trees to get better access into the site. And this is looking from the lot out to the street. You can see it's a very constrained, narrow entrance. It's got trees on either side, tough to see, and tough to get in and out of on a busy day there. And this is looking in the shaded spot at the entrance into the lot. And you can see if you were driving in there, it might be hard to see on either side there. Those trees would be removed, and we'd have a little bit more open concept there and more flexibility for parking. This is just past the entrance, looking down West Street toward the Parker River, and you can see that's the shoulder where people are parking on any Saturday to try to get access to this site. You can see if they're going to park on both sides of the street, there's barely enough room for one car to get through now, driving through on the road. And people getting in and out of those cars are subject to safety hazards from that. That's our handicap parking area. The one spot and a little rough there, getting in and out. And that is the current gateway to allow an emergency vehicle to get in there, which is could use some improvement. And this is looking from the lot out to West Street. You can see there's a car parked in the back. And those would be the trees that would be removed from this proposed project here. Some small trees and some minimal land grading to just grade off and level out this surface here.
That's it, Peter.
That's it.
Are there any questions for Peter about the West Street project?
I do. Pete, how many spaces do you have to have that are handicapped now for 100 spaces for 100 cars?
Oh boy, I don't know,
Yeah.
but maybe more than one.
Sure.
And if we do
I
this, we
agree.
could certainly build that into our plan. Certainly, and any kind of project, either with open space or any of these other projects, we're trying to accommodate the ADA requirements and things like that. So that's certainly something that we'll work with our engineer to make sure that we comply with those things. Certainly, that's a good question. Thank you.
Looks good. I can't wait.
Good.
Any other questions? Oh, That about wraps it up for all the projects. We have a little summary. Remember that these will all be voted on the annual town meeting on May 4th. We'll put the summary up here so that everybody can see it. Housing storm doors, 3,600. The Affordable Housing Trust block grant, 80,000. Historic document digitization, 22,000. Town hall shrub fence, 9,500. Payment for the bond costs and the turf field, 200,000 plus. American Legion Park, 46,000. East Main Street Rec, 140,000. Open space active land purchase, 158,000. And the West Street Field improvements, 45,000. And I'd like to extend my thanks and my appreciation to the board. We were able to do all of this without breaking the bank. There's still a little money left over in one of the reserves, and I think this board deserves a great deal of thanks and appreciation because of the fine job that they were able to work this all out and work these numbers and make them all work, and recommend that these projects go to town meeting and be funded by the voters, because it wasn't easy to make the numbers work. I saw a question, Doug?
Well, I just wanted to make sure I understood. So all of these things can be done with the current funds that CPC has with no borrowing.
This is cash.
It's cash. Good. So the answer is yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. This is CPC money. From the very beginning, the CPA has functioned in a way that is very, very different from the rest of the budget that you're used to working with. With all of the other monies that you'll be voting when you vote for the fiscal 2016 budget, you're looking at anticipated funds. You're actually appropriating money that isn't there, but money that you're kind of hoping to get by collecting in the taxes. This board only has and only does work with what are called certified funds. These are monies that have already been received. You can choose to leave them in the fund, or you can choose to, as town meeting voters, to appropriate them for use on these projects.
What is the match right now, Harry?
Oh, our match that we got in November this year was 57, I think, 57%. It was a good one. It was a good one. We had 25 million was came from the state surplus, so it worked out pretty well. Yeah, it was good. It was a good match, and of course, because we're at 3%, we get the second round match and the third round match instead of just that single match at the beginning. Any other questions, folks? I'd like to say this completes the presentation for the 2015 committee recommended projects. We want to thank you. We want to thank everybody at home. We really, really hope you make it to the annual town meeting on May 4th. I believe it starts at around 7 o'clock. If you have any more questions, please feel free to go on the GeorgetownCPC.com website. Check it out, see what you have. If you have any other questions, call me. We're all in the book. Look us up online. Our numbers are all on the website. Our email addresses are there. Whatever you need, call us, stop us on the street, flag us down, send us an email. We're always here to answer your questions. And I will now accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Hang on, how am I gonna do this? Hang on a second. Bear with me for a second. We're gonna continue the meeting. We have a meeting and we have business. More than welcome to stay. It's a public meeting. I don't know why you wouldn't want to. It's so exciting.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Second on that motion.
Motion by
25.
Paul.
I can see 35 kids on there spinning around. I can see 30.
Guys, do we know how to shut this thing off? Does that have a remote? Does that remote, Dave, does that remote up near right underneath the thing, will that shut this thing off? Or is that just something that shuts off the TV screen? I don't know. Motion by Paul to close the public
For that.
hearing. Yeah, you point it right up there.
Oh,
See that little doohickey up there, the IR receiver? That little thing?
Black thing.
That little black thing? No, is it, it's not? Oh, I don't know if that's it. I don't think that
What's
one's,
that
I think
other
that's the TV or something. Motion to close the public hearing by Paul, seconded. Gary, did you second that? Did I hear you get second that? Yes. And, okay. And all in favor of closing the public informational hearing, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Unanimous. Good. We have some regular business. We have some bills to pay. If we could, if I could have a motion to pay the bills.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills before us.
I'll second that.
Want me to go see if I can get that shut down for you?
It's not bothering me if it isn't bothering
can't see it.
anybody else. Yeah, I'm not looking at it. If you, Chris, can you kill that? We don't need that anymore.
I'm looking for the remote, but
Is
if
it-
you wanna just unplug it, you can do that.
Oh, can I hot pull?
Yep.
If I see sparks, buddy,
No.
No sparks.
no sparks.
It's not that powerful.
When did Jimmy leave? He probably left like around 9 o'clock?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right around then, right? Just to have it reflected. Okay. James, you seconded for motion to pay the bills. Take a peek at them, folks. And where are we? And there we go. First, of course, is town council. Couple of emails. Oh, basically one email. Almost an hour's worth of work there. That was for the 16-6 purchase and sale agreement. Town council paid. Next is a reimbursement to yours truly for a printer cartridge.
No, this is coming out of our administrative account?
Yeah,
Okay.
admin, CPC 101.
Yep.
Right? Always look up there, that's what you always wanna do. You always wanna be looking there to see where it's coming from. Right?
I just was confirming that that's
That
what.
way you don't get
101
caught.
was.
That's where you're looking from. Always looking up there. And the last is the domain. Websites to keep the name Georgetown CPC. You have to renew your domain registration, which is your name, every 2 years. Granted, that comes to almost $20. I think it's a good bargain, $10 a year. We can,
Yeah, it's the Georgetown CBC.
yeah, Georgetown CPC. Any questions on any of them? Good? Good for questions, guys? You all right?
All set.
Okay, I'll call the question, motion to pay the following bills. Motion was made by Peter, seconded by James. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. And, where are we, kids? Paul, do you have a pen?
Yep.
Want to start it off for me, buddy? Thank you. There's 3 to sign. Okay, correspondence. We'll begin with the email from town council, the one that, this is the follow-up for the bill you just paid. Regarding 16, excuse me, this is not the follow-up. This is not the follow-up. This is the other parcel of land. My apologies. The other parcel of land, when we sent the purchase and sale to the, purchase and sale agreement to the landowner, the landowner's attorney filled out all of the information about the description of the parcel. As it turns out, we had the wrong description of the parcel. because we were relying on the assessor's office records of the book and page for the deed. Turns out that, this board voted to, have a cursory title search performed. And, according to it, based upon the somewhat cursory review, this is the, title reviewer saying this. I believe the three parcels in the deed recording at book 7106, page 468, comprise the 20-acre parcel 16-7 on the Georgetown Assessor's Plan. Basically, what they're saying is they are confirming that the description of the parcel and the reference to the deed is the parcel that we currently know as
Okay.
map 16 lot 7. So, purchase and sale agreement is on all fours.
When he says cursory review though, I mean,
Yeah, we didn't pay for the full vote.
oh, is that right?
Oh, no.
So does that mean it's still open for, challenge then, or?
Basically what you had was you had, old descriptions of land.
Yeah, no, I realize.
And, you know, the first, the town assessor's office, the assessor's office had the wrong deed, basically, that was the bottom line.
Huh,
And this is the right deed,
okay.
that was what had to be corrected.
So we clarified it and we're good.
Yeah, we clarified it, and, you know, this is just part of the legal details to,
Make sure we're
purchasing land. Email from the town accountant is the only other correspondence. Mary McEnemy is sending CPC's expenditures through March. They've all been copied, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. It dates back, I believe, to the beginning of the year, so this is about 4 months worth of, yeah, on or after. Yeah, okay, this is about 4 months. Check them all out, they're there, I gave it a cursory review. Believe that, I didn't see anything that stood out to me. There's, the soil mitigation for the turf field is mixed in there. Just because it worked out that way to, make the payments go through.
It's still a pisser to figure out what project you're really talking about.
It is near blinding to do so.
Yeah.
Your eyes will start to cross sooner or later.
Can we get this in soft copy? Because you could build a search fairly easily to build these things out.
That's an excellent question, Paul, and I think you should email Mary directly,
Okay.
ask her for that. I believe what this is, this is a Munis-generated report, and I honestly don't know if it is deliverable in Excel, or,
Excel or just a numerical sheet? Or-
yeah, I don't know the answer to that. But if you email
Yep.
email
yeah.
Mary and just CC me on it, I mean, I'll certainly back up your request there.
Well, when I talked to her before, she said there was a module you could get that we don't have that would break things out by the app.
Yeah, I figured.
And
Yeah,
they don't have it, but it looks so rudimentary to
Yep.
do. Yeah.
we're
anyway.
probably too cheap to buy it.
Probably too cheap.
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah, welcome to Georgetown. Yeah.
It just looks like it's an old software, that's all.
Yeah.
Probably.
Think so? Think it's antiquated? Nah, come on, guys. Be ridiculous. Any business that may be brought to the attention of the committee by a participant from the audience or a committee member? Come on, no one shy. We actually have audience. Come on. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
By seconded by Dave. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And let the record show that adjournment of the meeting is at 9:15 p.m. And I would like to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And I hope everybody and everybody they know can make it to the to the annual town meeting, May 4th, 2015. And we hope that you believe like we do that these projects should move forward and get the appropriations. And thank you. Have a good one.